Hello, fire starters. Welcome back to another QEM video, Quantum Energy Management, where we are very casually dismantling the idea that your inner world is some random, mysterious, unmanageable soup. Last video, we talked about chakras. And if you haven't watched that one yet, I do recommend starting there because we framed chakras not as an aesthetic internal rainbow, but as interactive power centers. In other words, a train of information processing where meaning is parsed out and expressed at different levels of developmental framing. Very casual stuff. Just, the architecture of the human experience. No big deal. But here's the thing. Chakras are not the whole story. They are one map. And this is something I really want to emphasize early in this series when we talk about human energy anatomy. We are not talking about one single system that everybody has to interpret in one rigid way. This is why I say there are various lenses. Chakras are a lens. Meridians are a lens. The biofield is a lens. Elements are a lens. Modern physiology is a lens. Psychology is a lens. Systems theory is a lens, but they all communicate the same thing. No matter the culture, science, tradition, or era of origin, all lenses help us answer the question, how does the human system organize energy, information, emotion, behavior, and experience? That's the big question. Today we're going to zoom out from chakras and look at another major lens of human energy anatomy, the meridian system, so we can start building a bigger map. There are a handful of other lenses I want to lay out for you guys, so I've decided I'm going to make a separate video for each lens, and I think that will be the best way to give y'all more options when it comes to choosing, or heck, even Frankensteining your own mental framework for your own personal energy management needs. So let's go. If you're new here, welcome to Vital Sphere. My name is Lex, and I'm a quantum integration coach. I have a huge love for helping ambitious, multi-passionate people to align their mind, body, and energy so that they could stop burning out and start burning brighter, building a life that works in context with their own life. Who would have thought, right? So when we talk about QEM, quantum energy management, we're not talking about floating away into some mystical fog. We are talking about understanding the systems underneath your thoughts, feelings, physical state, and behavior so that you can operate with more clarity, adaptability, and agency. Before we jump into meridians and all that jazz, I want to reiterate this. Why do we need more than one lens? Why not just say, okay, chakras, done? Because life is not one-dimensional. Your body is not one-dimensional. Your emotions are not one-dimensional. Your experience of reality is definitely not one-dimensional. So if you try to understand a multi-dimensional human being through only one framework, you're going to miss things. This is the same problem that we run into with mainstream health, productivity, and even fitness. Someone says, oh, you're tired? Sleep more. Okay, sure. But what if your sleep is fine and your nervous system is fried? Or someone says, you're anxious. You're anxious? Just think positively. Okay, well, only it doesn't work that way all the time. If I'm to some degree clinically depressed, let's just say, I am literally not myself. I am not operating from the same mind. My psychological and spiritual architecture changes, and quantumly speaking, I temporarily don't have access to the same memories I do when I feel more like, myself. In a lighter view, what if the anxiety is linked to suppressed anger, poor boundaries, low blood sugar, environmental overstimulation, and the fact that you've been betraying your own values for 6 months. I don't know, like, let's not put a sticker on a volcano, okay? It's gonna erupt. As much as I wish that one lens could explain everything, it usually doesn't, because there are so many angles by which to view life. So although I've taken multiple lenses and synergized them over the years and currently use them to help my clients, I still had to learn each lens one by one to understand the principles behind them and then pressure test them against modern life and see if the ancient wisdom holds up, you know? A lens has to help you see something you couldn't see before. They must provide a framework by which you can make decisions within confines. And I know what people are gonna say. What? Confines? And I'll say yes, because if you're gonna give yourself so much freedom that you're gonna weigh every decision against infinite possibilities, dudes, you're gonna be weighing your decisions for an eternity. Here on Earth, we call that procrastination or perfectionism. Guilty as charged. So how about you use that freedom you have to grant yourself purposeful restrictions? More on that in the multi-skills development playlist. The task I want you to focus on right now is synthesizing a scaffolding, a way to think about things without question, even in times of uncertainty, which we know life is inevitably abound with. Chakras, the meridian system, biorhythms, they can all be hand-selected by us and integrated into our own personal self-regulation protocol of quantum energy management. So we've talked about chakras in the last video. Let's talk about meridians in this video. If chakras are like power centers that are, generically speaking, distinct hubs in the body and stacked from primal to spiritual domains of information processing, then meridians are the wiring of that processed information to your organs and beyond. They can allow access to a little more nuanced physical intervention, seeing as they are the basis of an ancient medicine practice called acupuncture. But ultimately, they are non-physical pathways depicted as branching channels rather than stacked energy hubs. It's as if the meridian system forges an extra layer of your nervous system and thus operates intimately alongside it. If you tend to feel very strongly that your emotions affect your organs, you may very well resonate with this depiction. People say, "But Lex, there is no evidence of them in the physical body. Scientists have not found..." Hold your fire. Did you know that there's something in science called the hard problem of affect? The hard problem of affect, which states that neuroscientists still can't explain how a physical brain chemical turns into a non-physical feeling, and yet it does. Wow. We all experience feelings. Even the scientists experience feelings. But where do they come from? There must be a logical explanation. So until someone comes up with said logical explanation, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna hold off on the drugs and find a solution myself. No, I'm not a purist, okay? But I like to do the best with what I've got before I crutch on something else. You feel me? I'm all about using the tech that there is today to help you in the best you can, okay? Make your life easier for yourself if the frickin' possibility exists. The Taoists, the Chinese, they had an idea. Since they didn't have the physical technology at the time, they had to figure shit out, not by dissecting bodies under microscopes per se, but by noticing repeated correlations over time. And we've heard that correlation does not equal causation, but anecdotally, for your practical real-life purposes, correlations speak volumes. The mistake would be deciding that one correlation is creating the problem. that would be limited and that would be wrongly associating correlation to causation. But we're making a web of correlations here, okay? That's data. And this is mostly to understand ourselves better. No one's winning a Nobel Prize for this, okay? This is our practice. It's like personal hygiene. Meridians are one lens, one option for you to consider, for you to integrate into your own personal framework. So we're not going to treat them as medicine, and we're not going to treat them as mystical. We're just going to see if they can be useful. For example, through these energetic pathways, so-called meridians, the originators of this model paid attention to these things. By the way, I don't know if you've heard this ever, but there's an old legend that acupuncture began when soldiers wounded by arrows experienced unexpected pain relief in other parts of their body. Whether or not that story is literally true, it captures the larger point. Ancient practitioners were observing correlations between specific body points and the whole system effects. Anyhow, originators of this model paid attention to these following things. When this pathway is disrupted, this symptom tends to show up. When this area is stimulated, this function tends to shift. When this organ system is stressed, these emotional patterns tend to emerge. Those are basically all nuanced examples saying that when A happens, B tends to happen. See what a framework does? It takes the random out of otherwise random data. Now I hear you. It frustrates me too sometimes. When, just like feelings, we must acknowledge the existence of things that aren't physically there. But modern science is catching up to some extent through the study of fascia, connective tissue, interoception, neuroimmune signaling, and bioelectricity. Things like that, you know? Whatever it is, this is the basis of acupuncture, and in all honesty, we have to be open to the things we can't yet understand. There was a time in history not too long ago when if I told your grandparents we'd all be walking around with pocket-sized computers with an AI assistant and infinite songs and data at a quality that you can't even imagine, they would straight up laugh at me and think I'm insane. So whether you guys want to dismiss acupuncture or not, it has still worked for thousands, if not millions of people worldwide, even if we don't know how it works to the degree we'd quite like yet. Not saying, like, acupuncture maybe worked for me a few times. Like, I'm not a practitioner of it. I've studied it, but I've known many people who like really changed their lives. So, you know, I'm just sharing the information, and it's a practice that's very related to the meridian system understanding. So that said, the principle here is that the body is not a bag of separate parts. It is a communication network. This sounds basic, but it's very important. You're not just a skeleton with meat on it being piloted by a brain. I know, tragic. We were all hoping it was simpler. But you are an intelligent, adaptive, self-organizing system with governing faculties that are beyond your logical or conscious understanding, and rightfully so. So, meridians give us one way to describe the pathways through which that intelligence seems to express. That's it, man. And whether you use acupuncture language, fascial line language, nervous system language, or somatic language, the principle is very similar. The body is connected, information travels, patterns repeat. Blockages, disruptions, or incoherences in one area can affect the whole. That is the big takeaway. Okay, that's enough of an information slap in the face for one day, don't you think? Jokes, jokes, okay. I'm going to upload another video soon going into the biofield, types of energy, and elements. Cool with you? If you guys prove to stick around and like super long videos, dope. I'm gonna just do it all in one. But let's make it easier for the algorithm first, shall we? Let me know in the comments. How do you think about meridians? And or do you feel like this fits into your personal mental framework of energy management? I'd love to hear from you. Ciao for now. Bye.